guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. We're back here at Walker Ford in Clearwater, Florida, and guess what? I have that smaller size crossover SUV that, believe it or not, comes standard with all-wheel drive. What is it? It's this vehicle right here. This is a 2024 Ford Bronco Sport. This particular one, as you can see by the badge on the side, is an Outbanks edition. But before we get into this desert sand, which I think is a great looking color, I don't know about you, put it in the comment section. Do you like desert sand? I'm digging it. Desert sand, smaller size Bronco. Let's talk about what's going on here. Things are getting a little wacky in the auto industry. Actually, they've been getting a lot wacky, to be honest with you. The sizes of vehicles are getting larger and smaller. Now, what I mean by that is that if you look at the smaller vehicles, those subcompacts, they're actually now getting larger, just like every other category. And what's happening is that the lines between subcompact to compact, compact to midsize, midsize to full size, everything's getting very blurry and sort of confusing, because guess what? This Bronco Sport actually sits on the same chassis as the Ford Escape, which the Escape is a compact crossover SUV, but this Bronco Sport is actually a little bit smaller. Now, what's fascinating is that if we're going to compare this to some competition, you can't just choose any old subcompact crossover SUV, or really even a compact crossover SUV. The reason why is that, like I said at the start of the video, it comes standard with all-wheel drive. But there is one that literally just got a refresh for model year 2024. And if you haven't seen my review of that one, I'll leave it at the end of this one so that you can really cross-shop and compare. What I'm going to compare is I want to find out what's the better small size crossover with all-wheel drive. Do you go Bronco Sport, or do you go, what is it, Chevrolet Trailblazer? So let's go ahead, let's blaze a trail, take you around the Outer Banks, and show you which one you should be buying. Right off the bat, like I said at the start, I love the color. And they really have a great color palette. From cactus green, Area 51, you now have desert sand, and you even have Lori's favorite color for a Bronco, which is her color Bronco, eruption green. Now, at the front of the business, I do like, even though this is the smaller size Bronco Sport, and I remember when this first came out, everybody was so confused. They're like, this is the Bronco. How can you do this? I thought it was gonna be a bigger Bronco. They decided to take care of everybody. So at the front end of the smaller size Bronco, you're gonna get full LED daytime running lamps, LED projector beam headlight, and LED turn signals. If you look at the Chevy Trailblazer, you don't get full LED all the way around. Now, as you drop down, you'll notice that we have LED fog lamps. It's another nice touch. I like the way all this is flat black. It's gonna take a nice beating as you're going down those off-road trails. And then I really like the way they did the grille surround in gloss black. Just a little bit, nothing too crazy. We got the Bronco name, nice and proud across the front in that bright white. And then as we drop down, you do have functionality in the lower portion. And then you can see how they sculpted this area to give you a little bit better approach angle. Now, if you really want to go a little bit further down those unpaved paths, you would have to go Big Ben, because Big Ben actually has an inch lift over this vehicle, and it's got a totally different all-wheel drive system. So something to think about. And I'll be bringing you a Big Ben, so don't worry about it. I'm going to show you all the differences. But for this, comparing this to the Trailblazer, this one definitely has a little bit more off-road worthy credentials to it. Now, as we rise up, I do love the hood. Nice and bold. It looks like it belongs on the bigger Bronco. And I think that that was smart to do, to not make it look too soft of a vehicle. And I think that's why I like the style of this a little bit better than the new Trailblazer. Now, as we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire setup. So you're gonna notice that we have these machined aluminum and gloss black wheels. I do like the style. It has a nice classic feel to it, and they're not too gaudy. It's a beautiful 18-inch wheel, 225 on the width of the tires, 50 series sidewall, and like I said, we have all-wheel drive on this vehicle standard. Flat black around the fender openings. Normally, I'm not the biggest fan of flat black, but it works on this Bronco Sport, especially with the desert sand and the way that the wheels are styled. Now, as we come down the side, I do have to zonk this. What is this? What is this? It's a fake vent looking thing. Just take it away. I think it would look better without it. Let me know in the comments section, do you like it with it or do you like it without it? What I do like is how Ford has put these sort of like badges of honor. This is the Outbanks badge. Like I said, the trim above this is going to be Big Bend. And that is the top trim. It's not like the big Broncos where you could go wild track like Lori has, because Lori is a badass. Now, Outbanks, you are gonna have some extra nice touches, especially when we get to the interior. One of the things you'll notice right off the bat is the two-tone. So you have your blacked out roof and you have your desert sand color. I like that style, and I like the style of the roof. It reminds me of a Land Rover Defender. It's that safari style roof design. You got your raised roof rails, get your cargo basket, get your whatever, kayak holder, whatever you need. This thing, you can mount it on top. Lots of accessories. I think that's another area where this Bronco Sport lays the smackdown on the Trailblazer, are the accessories. You have flat black along the bottom. I'm okay with that. Like I said, that's gonna take a better beating. You have color match on the door handles, that desert sand color. And then you see this design here? Look at what they did. They brought it into the rear pillar. Very, very nice thought through design. Cool style on that rear glass. And then as we bring it around the back, very short, blunt ending. And I think that's great for when you're backing it up into tight places. You do have an exposed wiper. I'm not gonna zonk it because it has a handle here for us to open up the rear glass. And then you'll notice the gloss black. What I am gonna zonk, what is that? That reminds me of a remote control car, an RC car that I had, that I got for Christmas when I was about 10. It was cool until the batteries died. And that was back in the day where you play with it for 10 minutes and then it takes 3 hours to charge the batteries. Go figure. You'll notice B for Bronco, duh. You do have, I am gonna have to zonk that guy right there. You see it, that Thomas Edison light bulb. Everything is LED, but why is that not LED? Bronco Sport, so nobody's gonna confuse this with the full-size Bronco. If they do, tell them to watch Raiti's Rides. And then dropping it like it's hot, very, very clean. Just like up front, they angle it to give it a nice departure angle. And then underneath the plate, here's an Easter egg. Bronco, established 1966. So the full-size Bronco has been around since 1966. Well, guess what? We wrapped up the exterior. Let's see what the heck is underneath the hood when we compare it to the Chevy Trailblazer. All right, guys, got the hood popped. You do have a prop rod. I'm not gonna zonk it because guess what? The Trailblazer has one, so it's even Stevens. Underneath the hood, you're gonna see a spaghetti mess of tubes, wires, because there is no engine cover, but I can't zonk it because that's what an engine looks like in today's modern world. What is it exactly? You are looking at a 3-cylinder, not a 4-cylinder, a 3-cylinder inline turbo on the Outbanks. If you want the 4-cylinder turbo, you gotta step it up to Big Bend trim. So you're looking at a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 3. It's 181 horsepower, 190 pound-feet of torque, and it's made it to an 8-speed automatic. Great news comparing this to a Trailblazer. The Trailblazer has a small inline 3 turbocharged engine as well. This has all-wheel drive with torque vectoring standard. 0 to 60, you're not gonna win any drag races. 8.2 seconds, but it is faster than a Trailblazer. So just make sure you race a Trailblazer and you'll beat them. MPG's 25 in the city, 29 on the highway. Vehicle weighs 3,593 pounds, and you could tow up to 2,000 pounds. But remember, like I said, if you go up to Big Bend, then you're gonna be able to get the inline 4 turbocharged engine. But nice to have an 8-speed automatic, no CVT like a Subaru Crosstrek. So why don't we go ahead, let's fire up this little 3-banger and hear what it sounds like. All right, guys, we are inside this 2024 Ford Bronco Sport in desert sand. Love the color. And it's funny because the more you kind of explore around these, the more you start to appreciate what Ford actually did when it comes to storage space, when it comes to different things to help you when you're out in the wild. Now, if you're wondering, well, Joe, what about price? Because I'm looking at a Trailblazer and the price seemed to be about right. What's the price on this one? I hope you're sitting down. MSRP, $39,990, the way that this one is optioned. But let's see what you get for the money to the door panels. I do like the way they did the material. So you're gonna have soft touch throughout the whole top portion and middle, and then I'm liking that copper bronze color. Everything else is flat black, and then you'll notice the sort of like milk chocolate brown on the armrest with the stitching. We do have the B&O optional sound system, and then the door pocket is nicely organized for a Costco hot dog and a large Checkers strawberry shake to wash it down. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, that neoprene sort of like wetsuit material that's nice and soft. You come on in, and I hope you weren't expecting a large screen. It's kind of, in a way, refreshing to have a smaller screen because we live in a world of large screens. 8-inch infotainment system screen, and it actually has the Sync 3 operating software, not the newer Sync 4. I do like the way you could rest your fingers here. This is kind of nice when you're making your choices. But I'll go into the home screen, and then you have all your different apps and all that good stuff, and the navigation. I'll throw it into reverse, backup camera, pretty clear resolution, and you got the trajectory, which is wonderful. And then we're right back to where we started. Real knobs and buttons for everything. I'll shut off that pesky auto start stop. You have a place for 10 of your camping Twinkies with that copper bronze color. Easy access start stop button. Down below you do have dual climate control, 3 stages of heated seats, which are nice. And I like the way they put a little Bronco Sport there instead of like a generic car. Wireless charging, USB-C, USB-A, a 12-volt, and a place, I would say, for 18 Tootsie Rolls. Don't put 19 or you're gonna not be able to use the charger. This is gonna control, the rotary dial is gonna control your 8-speed automatic. 2 cup holders. Of course, we got goat modes, go over any terrain. You're not getting that in the Trailblazer. And then on the side here, you'll notice that we have our auxiliary Twinkie net. So you can put 3 Twinkies in here. Soft touch material, and I like how large the center armrest is with that milk chocolate. Open it up, you got a USB-C, a USB-A, and plenty of room to where you could put all of those old mixtapes that you made back when you were younger, when you were trying to, date a certain special someone and you made that special jam tape so that you and them could park and make out. Do people even do that anymore? Do people park? That was something I always like to think about. But I don't know. I was too busy working to really do a lot of parking. But anyways, the seats, the milk chocolate, the Bronco badge embossed in there. I do like the way they did this cloth and faux leather. No Broncos were harmed in making these seats. You do have power assist for the passenger and power assist for the driver. I think one of the big zonks is no sunroof in here for 40 grand. But you do have lots of headroom, a lot more space in here than a Chevy Trailblazer. But why don't you get your butt over here? I want to show you behind the wheel in this Bronco Sport. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. You do have 3 memory seat settings. A nice little plastic. I wish they would do aluminum, but it's a plastic Bronco sill plate badge. You do have your power seat controls with that lower lumbar. And overall, like I said, very well laid out in here. Steering wheel, leather around. You do have your Bronco, your bucking Bronco there. I just don't like the way the horn button looks. If you notice, you see how it's got orange peel on it, that like elephant skin? There's nothing else in here that has that same design. Smooth, it's weird. So it seems out of place. Flat black on the switch gear. It is a tilting, telescoping steering wheel. And then you have that 7-inch digital display, which remember, you have the GOAT modes. Go over any terrain modes, which are great to go through. And you can see we have the Bon Jovi mode, sand mode. Really nice to have that. And then everything else is analog. So let me know if you like that setup or if you're expecting full digital for $40,000. But let's get in the back seat and see if they have as much room back there as we do up front in this Bronco Sport. All right, guys, backseat time, and the great news is the way that they designed that roof, that safari-style roof, you even have more room in the backseat. So instead of the backseat passengers getting jealous, it might be the people up front that get jealous because of all the room you have. Now, you have that leather-style material all the way around, nice large pockets to where you put the s'mores kits for when you're getting ready to go camping so you can make some s'mores, do them right. Don't go cheap on the chocolate, get some good quality chocolate. And then I also like the way they have these side pockets. What's great about this is if you go to Olive Garden and you get extra breadsticks to go, you could put the breadsticks right in here and munch on them while you're being driven to the campsite. Rear AC vents is nice to see, USB-C, USB-A, and if I could open it, a home power source. Like I said, I'm 6 feet tall. I got plenty of room in here. Seats are very comfy. And then of course, woo, Charmin soft, 2 cup holders, and the same material as the seats up front, which doesn't always happen in these vehicles nowadays. But let's go ahead, let's get to the rear cargo area because I want to show you how versatile this Bronco Sport is. All right, guys, cargo area time. One of the things that I really like about this Bronco Sport is that I feel like they truly designed it for people who want to go on an adventure. And let me show you some of those touches. One of the things, you hit the glass button right here, you could open up the glass. You can't do that on a Trailblazer. Nice to easily get, let's say you're about to be attacked by a bear and you have one of those anti-bear spray bottles. You could go run here, instead of open up the whole bag, you just spray it all over the place. So that's one thing. And then of course you could open up the rear hatch. It isn't electric assist on the Outbanks, but the good news is, look how light that is. You're gonna be greeted to a ton of room here. First of all, the bumper level is very low. So that liftover area, very, very low. I love the way they have the nice cargo mat protection, not only on the bottom, but also on the backs of the seats. You do have an easy access lighting button switch right here to turn and off the lights, which are great because guess where the lights are? They're actually right here. So when you're camping, you actually have lights that you can angle that are LED in the back of the lift gate. You don't have that on a Trailblazer. Another thing is on the passenger side, you do have a 12 volt. So that's a nice touch. And then you do have an area basically where you could put a thin box of Little Debbie snack cookies. Now, what's great is that you have the Little Debbie snack area on both sides. The other great part is to fold down the seats. It's very simple. You just push the button and you flop them down. And these seats, 60-40 split, and look how easy they are. Look how easy they are, and look how flat it is. Now, if you need a little bit more room height-wise, Ford has you covered. First of all, they have a spare, so that's another nice touch. A lot of vehicles getting rid of spares. And then you actually can take the cargo floor and put it just a little bit lower to get even taller objects back here. This is where the Bronco Sport outshines the Trailblazer day in and day out. But you know what? It's that time. Let's giddy up. Let's get in the saddle and go on throttle in this Bronco Sport. All right, guys, we are inside this 2024 Bronco Sport Outer Banks trim, and we're gonna go on throttle, leaving Walker Ford on throttle. So I have it in sport mode. That's gonna quicken up the throttle sensitivity, the steering sensitivity, and of course, also how the transmission and the engine behave with one another. Right away though, I do like the way the interior is arranged. Easy access to that 8-inch screen. It may be a little small, but you know what? It's still very functional. And like I keep saying, in a day and age where screens are all ginormous, it's a little refreshing not to have this big, huge screen right in the center of the dash. Out over the hood, you have those 2 bulges which give the Bronco Sport some substance. And the seats are ultra comfy. I do like the way they work the seats with the cushion, with the amount of real estate both on the bottom and on the back side of things. And really everywhere that you're putting your arms and your fingers, it actually feels really, really good. Now, compare that to the Trailblazer. I feel like the Trailblazer has a little bit more modern, contemporary style to it. Some people may be more into this. This is more traditional layout. And I'm kind of old school, so I'm okay with it. But you have nice knobs and buttons and everything for your AC control, for the radio controls. You got your heated seats, tons of storage space, and wireless charging. Now, looking out the back, very clear visibility because you have that nice large rear glass on the liftback. Side mirrors, good size. You have, of course, your blind spot monitoring and all the other safety features that you come to expect from a modern vehicle. I think, like I said, the one thing some people are going to be wondering is where's the sunroof, especially for $40,000. But it is nice to have standard all-wheel drive. And once you get over a car having a 3-cylinder engine, I think you will be quite impressed and surprised with how this drives. I mean, yes, I personally would recommend, if you want the most, then you go Big Bend and you have the EcoBoost inline 4 turbocharged engine, 250 horsepower. This, though, still very peppy compared to the engine, the Ecotec that's in the Trailblazer. And the fact that it's got an 8-speed automatic compared to a 6-speed automatic that's in the Trailblazer is a little nicer as well. But just very, very nice, organized space. You have the B&O sound system, and just everywhere feels really, really good. All right, guys, pulling away from the light. Like I said, I think the way that this Bronco Sport is geared, it really takes advantage of the power plant that it has. And the 8-speed actually shifts surprisingly very smooth. Now, the Outbanks does not get as off-road worthy as the tires that come on a Big Bend, which means that on the highway, you're actually going to be able to have a little bit better driving experience just from sound and overall harshness of ride. You don't have to worry about that with the way the tire and wheel setup is on this Bronco Sport Outbanks. But it's just a pleasant vehicle to drive based on being comfortable and also having great visibility. And then at the end of the day, the standard all-wheel drive system is going to keep you planted to whatever is underneath you while you're driving. But we're going to go on throttle here so you could get a sense of what the 3-cylinder turbo is about once we get some clear road. But the fact that you got 3 memory seat settings are really nice. The GOAT modes are fantastic to have that different personality for each mode. And if you're ready, I'm ready. We're gonna do it. On throttle, here we go. It definitely feels faster when you're behind the wheel than what the actual paper readout says. And I think a lot of that comes down to how the vehicle is geared for this particular setup with the inline 3-cylinder EcoBoost engine. But having a vehicle that is as versatile as this, and especially when it comes to rear cargo space, is not so common unless you want to go even larger for a crossover SUV. So something to think about with how well the space is utilized in this vehicle. But we're going to get back to Walker Ford. Hopefully this has been a good overall review of this Bronco Sport Outbanks, and wrap it up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been another bucking Bronco kind of day here at Walker Ford. Definitely got to thank Frank Walker, Weston Walker, and Tracy for getting us access to this desert sand. Yes, that's the name of the color. No matter what they tell you, it's desert sand. Still digging it, but it's been interesting comparing this to the Chevy Trailblazer. Like I said, if you haven't seen the Trailblazer review, I'll leave it at the end of this one. Let me know which way you're gonna spend your money. Are you going with this Outbanks Bronco Sport, or are you willing to go with the Trailblazer? Let me know down in the comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raity's Rides family. We got to give it up to LG Raiti. She is working that camera like a champ, bringing the great videography and all the awesome angles. Show her some love in the comment section. Thank you, Lori, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.